Hey everyone, so I'm posting this later than I'd like again. Just finding it hard to find real structure when it comes to making videos. So hopefully I can fix that and post more regularly. Anyway, this is another behind the scenes video covering most of the environment stuff. I'll probably be posting one more after this covering the Temple of Time. So as I've mentioned before in other videos, I heavily based my remake off the 3DS remake. I tried to use the original N64 version initially, but there just wasn't much detail there to really use it as a reference from. So yeah, I kind of turned to the 3DS remake, and I really liked how much brighter the colors were as well in the 3DS remake. So it was good to use as a reference, I think. I know some people prefer the darker style of the original game, but I kind of cling more to the brighter color palette in Zelda games. And I like that more. I think the brighter color palette is what makes Zelda more distinct in today's market anyway, so I like to push that as much as I can. I also grabbed a bunch of other reference from towns in real life, a lot of stuff from like England, France, and Germany. I think particularly France, there's a few towns I can't remember the name of that have really nice buildings with different colours and stuff, which I used as a reference for the buildings I made. So yeah, all that stuff was really helpful. I'm also using a program here called PureRef, which a lot of artists use to collect reference in a board they can easily access. So if you're into art, I really recommend using that program. I also managed to get a rip of the market in the 3DS remake, and that was really helpful to get it's like the size of things really really blocked out, so I don't have to do any guessing or measuring myself to get things feeling right. I'll cover some tricks and techniques I use to achieve the look of the buildings. So with the roof tiles, I actually modelled in where the tile overlaps the next layer of roof tiles. I think that really helped rather than just being a tiling texture where it was actually quite flat, which you might see in a lot of games. I feel like actually modelling in where the roof tile overlaps and getting that sense of depth helped a lot. And also you can see in some of the buildings also made the roof tiles a little wonky as well, to add that charm to it. And you'll see that a lot in some of the buildings, a lot of the timber framing and stuff. I've deliberately just gone to sculpt mode and Blender, just made it a little more wonky rather than it being dead straight. I was able to achieve this look pretty easily using an add-on called Text Tools in Blender. So I was able to just model the roof normally, and then what I'll do pretty much is just UV that roof, and then use Text Tools to make a flattened version of that roof. And I had like a pre-made roof tile with all the tiles kind of modelled in, and then I'd pretty much make an array of that roof tile and duplicate it across the flattened version of the roof, and then pretty much use the Text Tools add-on and trim the patch of roof tiles with the flattened UVs, and then wrap it around using the surface deform modifier, and then I'll pretty much easily create that effect for the roof. So as for the wood beams, I made a trim sheet for them. I think I've been saying timber previously in this video. I don't think you guys say timber in the US. So in Australia we use the word timber for wood used for building. So as for the wood beams, I made a trim sheet for those so I could get the curvature on the wood. So where I guess the wood bends, I wanted those light highlights, as you can see on the wood. Had a bunch of trims for wood at different sizes and stuff, and some of the sides had nails on it just to break up a bit more and add that charm to it. So once I modelled the wood, I'd go into sculpt mode and just make it wonky and stuff, and just add that variation to it, make it look interesting. One thing that also helped with the wood beams is I also added like a world space noise to my master material in Unreal Engine, so I could add more variation to it just by adding a noise, and that will just multiply over the texture. So you can see me demonstrating how the controls work for that. So you can see just making it more intense on purpose and show it off. Yeah, that added a lot to not only the wood beams and other assets as well, just to break up things. So I'm just opening up some of the ZBrush files for the signs I sculpted. I originally wanted to have all the Hylian be accurate to what's in the actual game, but I was finding it way too hard to get the actual text I needed, and it was just, yeah, it's too much hassle and it was slowing me down too much, so I ended up just using a bunch of different Hylian fonts and just typing random stuff in. It would have been really nice to get actual Hylian in, but it was just too much effort. And I found the Twilight Princess font for Hylian looked the most aesthetically pleasing, so I used that a fair bit on some of the signs. So just showing the substance painter files for some of the shop signs. So similar to the characters where I'm using a lot of baked lighting, also just like cranking the curvature and really pushing those forms from the sculpt I did in ZBrush. Really helps push that toony, sort of stylized look. So the other thing that took a little bit of work to get feeling right was getting the plaster feeling good. The main thing I wanted to pull from it was getting the ambient occlusion working. So ambient occlusion is when, I guess, it's when two surfaces contact each other and you get that real dark, that dark kind of shadow between the surfaces. And I really wanted to push that with the plaster, getting those dark crevices where the wood contacts the plaster. So I did like a bake in Blender with cycles for that, and pulled that into custom material, and made a few settings to expose, to be able to adjust that through the material. And the other thing I did to make the plaster look interesting was I had two plaster materials blending between each other. I had one that was kind of like not cracked, and I had like a cracked version of the plaster, which I just used a noise to blend between. And I think that really helped make the plaster look interesting. Also, another thing about the buildings, I made a window atlas texture, so I can have a few variations of different window types. Just showing off some of the sculpts for some of the components of the buildings, like windows and other stone bits and window shutters. For the stone buildings, I basically decorate the edges and the bottom with some sculpted pieces. I also had some some cornice trim sheets as well, which helped make it look interesting. So for tiling textures, I normally try to see if I can get some online, usually from Substance Source or something. Sometimes it's never quite what I want, and I might have to make adjustments to it or make completely new materials. When I'd have to do that, I'd normally start in Substance Designer and make a height map in there. And then I'd usually take it into Substance Painter from there. So from Substance Designer, I'd grab mesh maps such as curvature, ambient occlusion, normal map, and all that stuff. And then take that to Painter and do the rest of the texturing inside there. I always try and look and see if what I want already exists online. I'm not really religious about trying to do everything myself unless I really want to learn something. I made a material for the posters, so when you scale the posters, you can actually add a bit of damage to them, which just adds a bit of variation to them, so it's not the exact same poster being copied over per se. So you can see me just scaling out the poster, and it kind of darkens the edges a bit. It was a real quick thing to make, but I think it adds a lot. I really like the poster designs as well. I found them online, but I can't find the original creator of them. I just found it on Pinterest, but I was never able to trace back to the original designer of these posters. So if anyone knows, let me know, and I'll link the stuff in the description. For the paving, I set up high blended material blending. So yeah, you can paint in puddles and sand and stuff. It's pretty simple thing to set up, and it's really effective. I wish I could come back to the fountain and give that another pass. I'm not super happy with how some of the stone stuff turned out. I think it could look a lot better if I gave it some more time. As for the water fountain effects, particles, that was something I bought from the Unreal Engine Marketplace. It was like $15 or something. Yeah, it was definitely worth it. Saved me a lot of time, and it looks really awesome. And there's a lot more you can do with it as well, so it's worth checking out. Just some sign variations. All the writing doesn't actually mean anything. It's just random letters. So I probably spent way too long on the fruit and veg stand. I was really keen to figure out a workflow to have all the fruit baked into like a single piece of geometry, rather than intersecting multiple pieces of geometry, because I think that kind of looks ugly, and you don't get the nice ambient occlusion. So I had these stacked pieces of fruit and vegetables, and then I'd make a single piece of geometry using ZBrush and the projection tool, and then baking it onto this a single piece of geometry, and then getting all the texture information, the ambient occlusion, normal maps. These ones I got from Megascans. So the water I got from the Unreal Marketplace. I was actually kind of keen to make some water materials, but this one I found on the Marketplace is really awesome. I don't think I would have been able to make it look this good anyway. This one's really cool and saved me a lot of time, and the result's awesome, I thought. So with the terrain, it's a similar sort of vertex height blending system as the paving. And I also have some You can paint paths and grass and whatnot with vertex paint. I didn't use the landscape tool for the Hyrule Field. I didn't want to fight the landscape tool too much, and I needed something pretty specific for Hyrule Field, so I didn't want to bother with the landscape tool and just modelled it in Blender. The trees back here are just billboards. The mountains I got from Gumroad saved me a lot of time. They look really awesome as well. Death Mountain was made in World Machine. It actually appears in 2 locations, shifted depending on where Link is located. If he's in Hyrule Field, it would be in one location. If he's near the Temple of Time, it would be in another location. Mostly just to match the framing of Death Mountain as it is in the original game. I grabbed a lot of environment assets like cliffs and rocks from Megascans, saves a lot of time. I also added material to it so the top faces will have grass on it. The foliage I bought from packs from the Unreal Engine Marketplace. I made some very small adjustments to the flowers to get the colours I wanted. The trees I got from a free tree library I found online. Again, it saved me a lot of time. Anything I can do to cut corners and get the project done as quick as possible, I'll take it, as long as I think it looks good. Okay, so I think that's everything I want to cover in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something from it and got a better idea on how to approach some of the challenges in this project. So I'll do another behind the scenes covering how I tackled the Temple of Time. And I might also start working on Hyrule Castle as well. Maybe I'll start recording some video of me working on that, and maybe I'll put it on YouTube. And it could be like a nice, maybe like a devlog, or I'm not sure exactly how I want to present that, but I could do something there. But yeah, I think that's everything, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.